welcome to my creative corner. Today I'll be featuring a bonus product that's in our celebration catalog by Stampin' Up! That runs from January 3rd to March 31st. And this combo is two metallic baker's twine and sequins. Those colors are Bermuda Bay, Calypso Coral, and So Saffron. And I'm going to be making a shaker card featuring those products. So let's go ahead and begin. So what we're going to start with is the base of our card is basic gray, and this is measuring 8.5 by 4.25. You're going to score it at 4.25. So your base card is going to be 4.25 by 4.25. You're going to need two pieces of white cardstock measuring 4 by 4, and you're going to need some window sheets, and that's measuring 3.25 by 3.25. So you could also use acetates from old packaging. You're also going to need a piece of cardstock with a Bermuda Bay blue, and that's measuring 3 inches by 1 inch. So we're going to start off with using one of our white cardstock, and we're going to use our B-Mine stitch dies, and we're going to go ahead and run that through a die cutting machine. Leave a good space around the edges for your foam tape. And so whatever die cutting machine you have, I'm going to be using the Big Shot to run that through. So once you get through with that, you're going to have two pieces. You're going to have the inside piece and the stencil piece. So the little inside piece, the little shape of the heart, you could save that and use it to make another card at a later date. So with this piece right here, what we're going to do is you put it on our silicone mat, and this silicone mat protects your work area. And I'm going to be using some tape runner along that to glue some tape before I put the window sheet on. And this silicone mat is nice. It keeps your work area adhesive free. It's also great for using embossing tape. You could also do reverse stamping on that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is put our foam adhesive, double-sided foam adhesive around the shape of our heart, and Stampin' Up! Also sells this. And what I like about this foam adhesive that Stampin' Up! Sells is very pliable, flexible, that you could put around any shape. And these are 1/8 of an inch in width. And so you want to make sure when you're fixing that it doesn't show on the opposite side of your heart when you're looking through your window. Now this foam comes in little pieces of strips that's measuring 9 inches. So in the packet you get a total of 10 yards for this double-sided foam. And then you want to go ahead and outline the square of the card, and you want to make sure they're not too close and overlapping on the edges. So once you're creating seams with your foam tape, you want to make sure those seams are tight, they're well connected. You don't want any spaces between those seams where your sequins would fall out. And I also did a video on I talk about the silicone mat. I did a video on reverse stamping. So if you want to check out that video on the reverse stamping, it's pretty cool what the different purposes you could use this silicone mat for. So with this foam tape, it's so nice and thin. If you don't have the mini dimensional, you could cut little pieces of strips, and you could use this as your mini dimensional. So once we get through with putting that on the back, I'm going to make an extra chamber to the bottom of the heart. So I could keep some of the sequences to the bottom so it all don't go to the top. And so those two pieces, the two 4x4 cardstock is going to be placed together. But I want to make sure I put some sequins. I'm going to glue some sequins to the top. So I'm going to put my stencil die there and glue some sequins on the top. So that's going to make it look fuller. The sequins look full inside of your shaker card. So I'm just measuring, make sure I get the correct spot. So when it's placed there, you know, it's not hidden. So I'm going to use a multi-purpose glue to glue those sequins in place. And I like the glue that's by, it's called Art Glitter. This glue dries clear and is not tacky when it dries. So I like this glue. So I'm going to put little spots down where I want my sequence to go. And I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay sequence because I want to highlight the blue sentiment that's going to be to the front of the card. And I'm using the pick your tool is a jewelry picker kind of um, for Stampin' Up. And it has two ends. So the one end has putty on it that's I'm picking up the sequence with, and the other end has like a spatula on there. And this comes with additional refill for the putty, and it also comes with a different tip. It comes with piercing tip and stylus tip that you could interchange and use with this pick your tool. So that's pretty neat. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and cut out our word smile. And with that stamp die set, it's called Handwritten Prose. It's in lower cases, but it's cute. I like the font on it. And so we're going to make the word smile. So we're going to, after we cut those letters out, we're going to go ahead and take the backing off of the double foam adhesive strips. And when we get those backings off, we're going to go ahead and fill that those chambers with our sequins. I'm trying to get on the bottom one some more of the blue. So once we get that on, we're going to put our other 4x4 backing on and make sure that's sealed pretty neat. Make sure the heart is sealed good. And then we're going to do our sentiment, and we're going to be using a white embossing powder for this sentiment. And we have our Versamark ink, and we're going to use our embossing buddy, which has talcum powder in that. And you put that down so it prevents you from getting your powder stick in other areas that you don't want it to stick. Right, so I'm going to use you always deliver. I'm going to say delivering sunshine your way, stamp from the stamp out of that collection. And I'm going to be using our Stamparatus, which is a cool tool. Instead of using your blocks, you could use this tool right here, and it gets, and say for instance, if you missed a spot, it didn't ink up as you would like. You have magnets, you keep your work down, and you just re-ink it and go down on it again. If you want your work to be darker, you could restamp again. So it's kind of a neat tool. So I'm going to go ahead and use a white embossing powder. I'm using the coffee filters, which you could pick up several of these in a pack at the dollar store. And I reuse them over and over all the time. So it's like they would pretty much last you forever. And so you're going to flick that powder off, and you also use a paintbrush and get dust the powder off where the wording isn't. And you just want a nice small brush so you could get in those little small areas. And so once you're done, I'm just going to set that on the side and put that in the container later. And I'm going to use my heat embossing tool, and you'll see the changes in the white. If you look pretty close, you could see the changes in the white. And it gets really hot. You could also use your, if you have a tweezer, you could use that tweezer to hold it down with. And I just like the heat embossing is just so magical with just seeing the color changes with this. So we're gonna go use the twine now. I'm gonna use a Bermuda Bay twine. I'm using 2 pieces, and I'm gonna take some of the multi-purpose glue, and I'm gonna put that in it to stick those down. So when I'm tying my bow, it's much easier for me to tie the bow. You could still have that fray look if you would like, but I find that this helps with making the bow tie a little easier. So we're going to hide that little band of foam tape that's long that made a little chamber to the end. So we're going to cover that with a sentiment. And we're going to put some mini dimensionals to the back of that. And it's going to hold about 5 perfectly there to the back. And Stampin' Up! Has the larger regular size dimensional, and they have these mini ones, and it's just perfect for these 1-inch strips. And I'm just going to take my fingernails and put some indentations to the back of that, and that helps to get the backing off a little easier. And I tried using like black instead of the Bermuda Bay, and I think it was just like too harsh. The Bermuda Bay gave it a nice little soft look. And when you're centering your sentiment, you could always use your tweezers to make sure you get it nice and even in the center. What we're going to go ahead and do is put our letters in on now. And I'm using a multi-purpose glue, but you have to be so careful with this that once it gets on your window, it doesn't smudge it. And a nice little tip is to, the sentiment kind of helps you line your wording up to the top. It's like a ruler. So what's nice, I didn't do it with the letter S, but you line up, put all your lettering down first to make sure you have the exact amount of space that you want between each letter before you glue them down. And once you're happy with your placement, then you go ahead and you apply your glue. And you want to make sure that you don't have too much glue to the back and on it, because once it smears out, then that's going to be, like I say, dries clear, but you're going to see that clear little spot there. So you want to be really careful when it comes with that. And I use the basic gray for this lettering, so it'll match with the base of the card, which is also basic gray. So when your cards are pretty much complete, I'm not going to put a sentiment in the inside. I'm going to leave it blank, because with this, pretty much it's going to say smile, delivering sunshine your way. You could say in the inside, you could say happy birthday. You could say just sending you a little note. You could say, I hope you feel better. So you could make this card to any occasion that you want. So I'm going to leave it blank inside until the occasion arrives. So once you put your little eye on, make sure you don't forget your little dot there to the top. Once you get a hang of making these shaker cards, they're not too bad. Actually, they're quite fun making, and they're pretty cute too. So what we're going to go ahead and get our glue dot and put our bow on right underneath that sentiment. And then at this point right here, you could go ahead and trim those tails off to your liking. And we're going to go ahead and get our multi-purpose glue. We're going to put some sequins down there to the bottom. You know, some people say 3 is a nice number, but you know, you do what you're comfortable with, what to your likings. So I'm going to go with 4. So I'm going to put 3 to the bottom and then 1 up to the top. So if you like this shaker card, all the supplies I'm going to have listed in a couple days over on my blog, all the measurements and the supplies that I use. And if you're interested in any of the products that I use here, is going to be some links over on my blog that you could click on and get any of the products that you like here. So we're going to put some multi-purpose glue to the back of our top piece, and we're going to glue that on to the base of our card. And you're going to make sure you have the even amount of gray on each side. And those tails are a little long, so I'm going to trim them a little bit more. And there you have it, folks, the shaker cards. Thanks for stopping by. Happy stamping.